welcome to this edition of Let's Talk Whole Health. This is our part 2 edition and a continuation from last week. And we have none other than Dr. Joyce Loyd-Davis with us today. She is the director of Alabama State University Health Services, and we're excited to announce that under her exceptional leadership, Alabama State University has been selected as the recipient of the inaugural Boris L. Henson Foundation Self-Care Pod. Also,
it is. I can tell.
So, this is a prestigious recognition that reflects ASU unwavering dedication to the well-being of its students and community. So today we're excited to have Dr. Davis, and she will guide us through an enlightening discussion on the importance of balancing stress, anxiety, relationship issues, and depression, which are prevalent concerns on our college campuses and in the lives of adults alike. Drawing from her wealth of expertise and experience, she'll offer valuable insights and practical strategies to help restore the joy in our lives. Ladies, and all who are joining us now, please put your hands together and let us welcome Dr. Joyce Loyd-Davis.
Hello, everyone. It's certainly my pleasure to be with you at this lunchtime hour. And so the topic that Dr. Gray asked me to speak upon, I'm sorry, Katie Cook, I see, is that your hand up or were you clapping?
Yes. I was clapping. Welcome.
Thank you, Katie Cook. Okay, I just wanted to acknowledge it. So let me first of all acknowledge I am not the most tech savvy person. So I'll go ahead and put that disclosure out there. That is not my wheelhouse. But talking about stress, anxiety, depression, and how we can alleviate those things, that is my wheelhouse. And so I do want to share with you some nuggets of wisdom that perhaps you can take with you in your day-to-day during this conversation. Certainly, this topic could easily be a 2 or a 3 day discussion that we could have about it. So I'm going to try to condense some of the knowledge and information that I think would be most pertinent for you ladies in your life and your daily walk, into this, 45-minute segment as we leave a little time for question, and answer. I want to start out by expounding upon what Dr. Gray mentioned, which is what we're doing at Alabama State University and how that relates to our communiversity piece and how that involvement has been impactful on, young people. And certainly you can take some of those takeaways into your personal life and how you can decrease stress, anxiety, alleviate depression, and those things which are impacting our community at far greater rates than we actually quite understand. So with that being said, we are just embarking on our 1 year. We're here 1 year ago. We celebrated on the campus of Alabama State University being selected as the first HBCU or the first college period to be selected for Taraji P. Henson's model of the SHECare Wellness Pod. The SHECare Wellness Pod was created through her Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation to address the mental well-being of young ladies. And so we partner with other organizations, certainly such as the Junior League that empower women and empower our mission and certainly empower our mental well-being. And so the ladies on our campus have an opportunity to experience free individual therapy. They're able to experience free integrative wellness services, which include yoga, mindfulness, meditation, sound therapy, dance therapy, any of the modalities of interest that we can offer them that allow them to reset their mind, refocus their stressors, alleviate, those things, those pressures, just the day-to-day pressures of life, being a college student, what those things can do to relax them so that they can focus on what their ultimate goal is here. To gain a quality education to propel them forward in the future. And so they're able to experience those at, no cost to them. The cost has been absorbed by Kate Spade, New York, who put $2 million into this project to open up 4 SHECare wellness pods at HBCUs across the United States. And so we were just ecstatic to be the first, to be the model, to be selected. Behind me in my background, you'll see the picture of our grand opening of the SHECare Wellness Pod. Behind us and cutting the ribbon is the artwork of a student that created the mural that is on the pods that they go in to have individual therapy. You'll see they're pictured, and I'm going to move out the way so you can see the picture. You'll see Taryn Bird to the left, if we're looking at the screen there. Taryn Bird is the lead executive with Kate Spade, New York, and was just a wealth of information and a wealth of knowledge, and everything that they brought to the table. The work is remarkable that Kate Spade, New York, is doing to address mental health issues in our community. Beside her is our president, Dr. Quentin T. Ross, who is just an amazing leader, amazing to work with. He cares about our students. He cares about our community. He cares about our partnerships in the community, and he cares about the topic of mental health and how we can be impactful, first and foremost with our students and Hornet Nation, but how can we be impactful in the community? How can we partner with other people to address this issue and that topic? And so we thank God for, Dr. Ross and his leadership here at the university. Then beside him, you'll see Tracy. Tracy Jenkins is the executive director of the Boris Henson Foundation. She is affectionately known as Taraji's best friend. And so Tracy is just amazing to work with. She and her team selected Alabama State University. Dr. Ross and I had the pleasure of pitching why Alabama State University, and Tracy and her team just were compelled to select us, and we're forever grateful for that. Beside Tracy is her best friend, Taraji P. Henson. You guys may know her as, she is a actress, philanthropist, just, advocate for mental health. I mean, so many things, from Hollywood to just being a person who wants to make a difference in our communities. I have a great amount of respect for her and what she is doing to make a difference. Her investment of time, money, and energy to just be impactful in this space has been amazing. Beside her is our student, beside Taraji is myself. That's me in the striped dress. And I led the project, wrote the grant for the project, and pulled together the Alabama State leadership team so that we could, submit for this. And then beside me is our student in the white dress, our student, Miss ASU at the time, who was very helpful with giving us student impact, the vision for the students, what they were looking for, what their needs were, helping with the survey, the pre-survey that went out so that we could address the concerns, appropriately through this project. And then we have our board trustee, who is our board president, Trustee Brenda Brown Dillard, who is a huge support of Alabama State University and all of the initiatives that we're doing on campus. This one was passionate to her. Her presence and support was, impactful as well. So that's the team. That's how we arrived at where we are. And what is the real thing that we want to address here? We want to address why people are so stressed out. So when I talk about that topic, I talk to the students about it. I'm a practicing nurse practitioner here at the university. I treat anxiety, I treat depression, I give students stress management techniques and tools to help them improve their outcome so that we don't end up in a depressive state and stay in that state. Sometimes it requires medicine. Sometimes we're able to manage it through counseling, through therapy, through integrated wellness modalities and other methods to improve the outcomes that students are suffering with. So when we talk about the ladies gathered here on this call today, what are you doing to manage your stress? Because one thing for sure, stress is going to happen. It's going to happen to the best of us. It's happening to the less of us. It's happening everywhere. Stress doesn't care what your social economic status is. It certainly doesn't care what your title is. It doesn't care where you live. Stress is going to infiltrate everyone at some point in their life gathered on this call today. So what I want to talk about is kind of notably understanding some of the differences between stress and anxiety and how you contain and control both so that you do not become into a depression state. Because when we start dealing with depression, then we've progressed to a state where we may have to have more control with medicinal ways to control it. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because the goal is to control these external, internal, factors that are causing us to be off cycle, not focused, not want to carry on our activities of daily living. So I'm going to go through a handout that I very commonly give out to the students here at Alabama State University, that we give out when we're in the community on our community initiatives as well. So I'd like to go through that with you guys. So at this point, I'm going to share my screen. And while I'm sharing my screen, if there's anyone who has any questions at this point in the presentation, now is a good time to ask. Okay, awesome. So you guys can see the handout. Can everybody see it okay? Any thumbs up? Or where's Katie? Katie, can you give me a hand clap or a thumb up? Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Katie. I know you're being interactive with me, so I'm calling you out. Appreciate that. The handout is geared towards, I'm so stressed out. This was a very well put together document by the National Institute of Mental Health that talks about, what do you do when you're feeling overwhelmed, how, understanding the difference between stress and anxiety, and really how you cope with it. As I've already said, everyone is going to experience at some point in life stress, whether it's, simply, work, dealing with your children, something more traumatic. We're all going to go through some times of, just again, that feeling of overwhelmness. We're going to experience that. Stress will manifest itself, physically, mentally, and these causes come from internal and external stimuli that are causing us to have the body to have this response to stress. And so when the body is responding to stressful situations, it affects our health. We can experience problems with our sleeping, our immune system declines. We can have digestive issues, not digesting our food well, affecting our appetite, our ability to eat, what we eat. Some people binge eat when they're stressed out, so they eat the wrong things that can cause other health problems. There's certainly a cardiovascular response. Sometimes we can get tachycardia, which is a very fast heartbeat. We can have abnormal rhythms of our heart for very traumatic, stressful situations. Our blood pressure alterations can certainly also be a result of stressful stimuli. The reproductive system can be affected by that. Our hormones can be out of whack because of, response to that. And so we want to deal with it when we're dealing with those issues so that it will not advance to higher risk issues, such as developing mental illnesses, having chronic generalized stress disorder, or develop into depression, what I mentioned, earlier, which will cause more. So let's look at stress versus anxiety. So when I'm explaining this handout to our students or my patient, population, I like to for them to understand. So let's look at stress first. Stress is a general response to external cause, which could be something really simple as, like taking, a big test, which may seem simple to me, but big to the student. Or, it can go up the spectrum to arguing with a friend, arguing with a roommate, arguing with your spouse, dealing with multiple activities, trying to multitask and becoming overwhelmed, pressures with your job, pressures to perform. All of these things can cause that general response. The thing to understand about stress, when we're talking about understanding the difference between the two, is it usually goes away when the situation is resolved. So after the test is over, if you're dealing with stress, usually all of the body's response subsides and the stressor goes away. So you go back to your normal operating state. In anxiety, which is the opposite of that, usually it's lingering. It is a persistent feeling or apprehension that you have that does not go away, and it interferes with your activities of daily living. So if you can't, people who say, I just can't shake I feel like I'm stressed out, but I can't shake the feeling. Well, if you're not shaking the feeling, you're probably suffering from anxiety. Versus now, yes, of course, the stress can cause the anxiety, but usually a simple stressful state will go back to normalization. Anxiety lingers, and then you have to have some other type of modality or method to relieve the anxiety. If not, it will progress to what we call generalized anxiety disease. And then that condition is treated with medication. So you got to identify, again, when you're dealing with a stressful situation, once the argument went away with my husband, and the next day, how did I feel? Did I feel like the stress went away once we came to a resolution about the argument? Once we made a decision, did it go away? Or am I still anxious about the situation with my husband? My boss and I didn't see eye to eye. They calculated my time incorrectly. I thought I had more PTO days. Once we resolved that, did the stress go away? Or am I still anxious every time I see my boss? Or anxious every time I think about taking some paid time off? Is it still there? So that's what we're looking at, the difference between stress or anxiety. Please do, I like to note to people that stress certainly can be a positive response or it can be a negative response. Now, there are times when, it's happy times and the body can be having a response to stress. Like, for example, if you're at the hospital and your daughter's having a baby, you can be stressed out to the max, but you're excited about that. It's an excitable state. Blood pressure is up. Body's having a response. I'm not sleeping. Hormones out of whack. But it is a happy, positive occasion. But my body is still responding to that stress. Or just say, you were awarded a grant from Taraji P. Henson. And, you know, it's excitable. I was totally stressed about it, but it was a positive response, you know, that I was having to a very positive situation, you know, and I was inspired to meet the demands of that stressful situation. And it caused me to have a few sleepless nights, but the outcome was something I wanted, something I welcomed. And once the event culminated and happened, the stress went away. I was back to sleeping normally. It didn't linger. I didn't have anxiety every time I look at the pod or every time I got a call from Taraji or her sister or someone from her team. I didn't panic, you know, afterwards. So it wasn't an anxiety situation that, you know, malingered with me. And then over again on the anxiety side, generally, it's internal. That's another distinct difference to notice with anxiety and stress. Stress usually is the external stimuli that are causing you issues, whereas anxiety is an internal. It's your reaction to stress. So the stressor has occurred. Now, this is how I'm reacting to it. So whether it's because of a chemical imbalance, whether it's you not being able to manage the stressor and it has progressed and now, you know, you're in an anxious state that you cannot shake. Whether it's your coping mechanisms are not effective for the situation. Whatever it is that's causing you to feel that way, you'll have that persistent feeling, that apprehension. And even some people who are in a high anxiety state, they are in a dreadful state. They dread whatever it is that's causing it. So if they're having problems at home, they dread going home. If they're having problems at work, they dread going to work. Sit in their car in the morning for the last possible minute before they can walk in that building because they're dreading being in that environment. And so when you're at that point, you have to know when to seek help. When do you move out of it? Even if, you know, people perceive it that there is no immediate threat, you know, the person who's not feeling anxious can't always understand the person. And if they're not professionally trying to understand the person who is feeling anxious, you know, I may look at my coworker, well, you know, if I wasn't trained for this, I may look at my coworker and say, why can't she come in the building in the morning? I mean, it's, you know, you just go to your desk. You just have to walk past her, say good morning and go to your desk. But I don't understand the response that her body is having. The reaction she's having is not as simple when someone's in a true anxiety state. It's not as simple as saying, girl, get over it. You don't have to say anything to her. Just walk past her and, you know, go on about your day. Or it's okay. Every marriage has a problem. Don't worry about that. Everybody falls out with their boss. Those things are not comforting to the person who is in a true anxiety state because it's not that simple for them. They need intervention. They need professional help, and they need to understand that it's time for that. One of the things that we'll talk about here, you know, when I get to the wrap-up piece, is the stigma associated around seeking a mental health profession. Therapy is not, in our society, should not be viewed as a bad thing. It should actually be viewed as a proactive thing. Because I think with anything, if you seek early intervention, you have the best outcome. There's early intervention and then there's prevention. And if you are either on the preventive side or the early interventive side, then you're going to have the best outcome on the end. So that really makes a difference and it matters. Now I'm going to slide up. It's important to manage your stress. I already said it can interfere with your day-to-day life, interfere with you being able to interact, just as, you know, a regular day-to-day action, your activities of daily living. It'll cause you to avoid doing things. And I tell you, one thing that, is so bothering me, it'll often cause people to avoid doing things that they like doing, that they normally would enjoy doing, but those things are not enjoyable anymore. They're not pleasurable anymore. That's when we start getting to that depressive state. Because when a person is in a depression state, then things that would normally be enjoyable are no longer enjoyable. Don't like going to my favorite restaurant. The food's not good. I'm not even tasting the food. Date night is not exciting to me anymore. Don't want to be there, really. Okay. Don't want to work on this project. And I normally would have enjoyed working on this project at work. I don't want to do it. Don't want to be in my friend group. Don't want to hang with my girlfriends. And we usually laugh and have a good time. I don't feel like laughing. That's when we're in a depressive state then. And we need to look at the PHQ-9 and see where you rank on the depressive state so we can look at what the best treatment modality is at that time. You seem to always just, it seems to be present. Like you can't shake the thing, that's causing you to have the problems in the first place. So let's talk about coping with stress and anxiety. Okay. So that's the important piece. Remember, I said you want to either be preventive or you want to have early intervention. That is the key to anything that you're dealing with. Any disease state, any abnormality of the body, the earlier you intervene or if you prevent, the better you have your outcomes will be. So let's talk about some things that I, often share with my patient population that are effective for coping with both stress or anxiety. So first and foremost, like I said, I think it is very prudent for the individual to try to recognize if it's just stress, or is it anxiety. Once you do your self-analysis of recognizing that, the second thing is recognizing when you need more help. Okay. If it's not something that you can manage or cope with these things that I'm about to share with you, then you need more help. So it's great to try to intervene for yourself, but if you get to the point where the interventions are not working, then it's time for additional help. But a good thing to do, the first one I'll start with is keeping a journal. So at our SHECare Wellness Pod, we have a journaling integrative wellness class that Alicia Bennett leads, and it is awesome. Okay. Now I know there's gonna be somebody, and maybe even someone on this call, who's gonna say, I just cannot write my things down. I'm not a writer. I don't want to keep up with the book. I don't want to. Well, let me tell you what the students are doing. Okay. They are journaling in their phones. They have notes. They have Evernote. They're using all these apps where they're writing their thoughts down. I was most impressed with that, they don't want to keep up with a handwritten book, so it's in their phone. Okay. So whatever works for you to make notes and look at your thoughts so that you can be reflective is the best thing for you to do. Now, I'll tell you another thing that I've had a patient tell me that they do, a student likewise, is that they dictate their journaling. So they go to voice notes in their phone also. So the patient was voicing it on their iPad, but they talk their notes. So they dictate it out and go back and reflect on how they were feeling on that day and what their progress has been, over a week, over a month, over a couple of months, and, and that entire year. I thought that was super cool way to look at your thoughts and reflect back on them. So I'm saying that to say, when we talk about what coping mechanisms are, you have to find the one that works for you and allow for creativity with that. So those are creative ways that they're doing it. So either way that works for you, writing down your thoughts or putting your thoughts down has been proven to be effective. Okay. So, and it's simple as, date stamp it, write how you're feeling that day. I tell my patients to write what made you feel better, if anything. And if there was not anything that made you feel better, write that. So what journals become as you progress through your issues, through your stressor, through the thing that's causing you problems in life, it gives you an opportunity to reflect back and see what your progress is. It gives you an opportunity to look at it and say, didn't he do it? Didn't I make it? I overcame. That thing I thought was a mountain in January, where here we are in August, and that was just a molehill. So it gives you an opportunity to look at your life. It helps you even with goal setting for the future, looking at your short-term goals and your long-term goals. It helps you know what your strengths and your weaknesses are. It helps you know what stability is for you. So those things are very important, for you to do. The next one is download an app that provides relaxation exercises that teach you about deep breathing, or even the visualization apps, so that you can psychologically look at paying attention and being present in the moment. That's what mindfulness is. And we have Brandy, who came to Junior League and did Whole Health Part 1. Brandy is actually our mindfulness instructor here at the university. And mindfulness is being present where you are now. So one of the things that would be super effective, and you guys don't have your cameras on, so I can't see how present you are. But one of the things that you have to do when you are trying to take in and look at coping mechanisms is try to be as present as possible in the moment. So that means moving distractions. That means, I'm listening, but I'm also on my phone. And I know some of y'all are at work, so you might have to be on your computer and you might have to have that up. But as present as you can be allows you to really take in the moment, be focused, be in tune with yourself, have the realism of what I need to do to improve my outcomes, okay? And there are apps that can help you with that. There are apps that teach you about breathing. As a matter of fact, if everybody now would just take a deep breath, I want you to inhale with me and exhale. On the count of 3, we're going to deeply breathe in and out. 1, 2, 3. And release. Close your eyes and let's do this again. In and release. Deep breathing certainly has its place, because deep breathing allows that immediate flow of oxygenated blood to your vital organs, particularly your brain, okay? And it allows you sometimes to have greater clarity as your brain is getting a boost of oxygenated blood, and you can think clear about before you say something, before you do something, before you make your next move. It gives you an opportunity to reset, maybe help to lower and slow down your heart rate. It's just so to me, underutilized, simple way to kind of help restore your body by taking a few deep breaths throughout your day. So when you feel yourself becoming stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, stop, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and try to be present with just yourself in that moment. Next, exercise. Exercise is very invaluable for some of the ways, things that I was talking about earlier. Again, gets the blood flowing to those vital organs, which is going to give you optimal, outcome. Exercise restores your, mental health. By way again of helping you to think clarity, giving you the clarity, resetting your body's heart, moving, releasing endorphins. There's so many things that statistically indicate exercise has that good impact on the body, that you want to try to engage in it. And I tell my patients, they say, well, everybody says exercising at least 3 times a day. Is that good? I'm gonna be honest with you. Now, out of a 24-hour day, we should get some exercise in daily. That is the honest truth of it. Nobody wants to hear that, but we should daily exercise. And when I say daily exercise, I'm not saying you have to designate an hour a day, maybe not even 30 minutes, but it just 20 minutes out of a 24-hour day. Can you give yourself to take a walk, do some jogging, put on a video, load an app, do some floor exercises, do some sit-ups, whatever is your level of exercise. Give yourself that 20 minutes a day. Other part of that is eating healthy. We are what we eat. That's the truth too. The food that you eat helps to either revitalize your body, re-energize your body, and you make those choices. So those choices are important for you to be able to ensure that you're eating well enough that you are giving your body the fuel it needs to combat stress and anxiety. Stick to a sleep routine and make sure you're getting enough sleep. Oh, this is another underutilized one. I hear people say all the time, girl, as long as I get my 4 or 5 hours of sleep, I'm going to be okay. No, you're not okay. If you feel okay, I'm here to tell you you're not. The body has a rhythm. There is a sleep cycle rhythm that our body has. And when you break that cyclic sleep rhythm of the body, then you're causing problems that you don't even realize, okay? You're allowing the stress, the release of the hormones that are taking over the anxiety and stress in your body, you're allowing them to take over your body. Truth about sleep, yes, you need 7 or 8 hours of good sleep a night. 4 or 5 is not going to cut it. The more sleep you get, the better. And then you'll have some folks that'll tell you try to get 9. But your body has to rest. It has to reset. And if you're not getting adequate sleep, I urge you to put that into your routine. Avoid drinking excessive caffeine, soft drinks, and coffee. Caffeine, of course, is known to inflame, stress, and anxious situations. That's a statistical fact as well. So you want to make sure that you're decreasing that. If you like coffee, get the decaffeinated coffee sometimes. Switch it up, And I'm not saying you can't have any caffeine. Note that the National Institute of Mental Health says excess caffeine. So if you're drinking coffee excessively, it can create you a problem. But if you're having it every now and then, there's nothing wrong with having some caffeine occasionally and soft drinks occasionally. That is certainly something that is allowable if that's your preference. But if you're drinking 4 and 5 sodas a day, or even 2 and 3 a day, then you're getting excess. Okay, so you just have to. Everything's in moderation. Identify and challenge your negative and unhelpful thoughts. You have to identify those things that if it's a person that, brings on the negativity, I tell people all the time, I have to limit myself from Debbie Downers, okay? I just cannot be around someone who every time I call you or see you, you unload a trunk of stuff on me, okay? Now, granted, that's not saying, well, we need to be there for our friends if they're having issues. Yes, and I don't mind listening to my friend, but every day or 3 or 4 times a day, About the same problem that stuff gets into your spirit. You get bombarded down with the weight of the world and the weight of everyone else. We should be telling our friend how to turn all this negative you're unloading me into a positive. Let's look at the optimistic side. Let's look at what the solutions are. Let's be result oriented. We have to change the way we're thinking. We can't always think about the negative piece. Find you a crowd, find you some people, a circle that's bringing positivity to your life, that are encouraging you. The encouragers of the world, thank God for them. The encouragers of the world are priceless because everybody needs encouragement. And so find those people, migrate to people who motivate you, that make you feel better about yourself. Yes, you have to feel good about yourself. It starts with you, but it sure helps to be around some people who feel good about you too, who are encouraging you, who believe in you, who want to see you excel. Those are your people. That's your crowd. That's where you need to migrate. And then lastly on this list, it says, reach out to family and friend members who can help you cope in positive ways. That's part of the spiel I just said to you. So I already went into that blurb. You have to know who your people are, family or friends, okay? And it's okay to put people on timeout, okay? If you cannot deal with the energy that they bring into your life, you don't even have to tell them you're putting them on timeout, okay? But you put them on timeout. You have to set up parameters and barriers that allow you to have a healthy mental well-being. Because if you do not set up those parameters and those barriers that allow you to do that, then you're going to be over here on the other side of my handout right here, where you're really trying to recognize where you need more help, okay? And so needing more help is engaging a professional. Time to talk to a professional. Therapy is a good thing. We have to decrease the stigma associated around, ooh, you going to therapy, something wrong with her. Ooh, she going to therapy, she crazy. Ooh, she taking medicine, she's crazy. We have to stop using that stigma to make people feel like seeking help or taking medicine is associated with crazy. That's not crazy. That is the most sane thing you can do, is to seek help and be in a early intervention or prevention stage. That is the most sane thing we can do for ourselves in this world, okay? So it's not associated. What is crazy? Crazy is someone who will not seek help, or someone who wants to badger somebody else for seeking help. The same thing to do is for an individual to recognize they need help and seek help. So I'm here to say, if you're overwhelmed in your life, if you feel like the stress and anxiety is too much for you to handle, these coping mechanisms are not working, other things you've tried are not working, the girlfriend therapy is not working, then you need to seek the help of a professional counselor. And it's okay for you to do that. It's okay if we need to alleviate your anxiety with medicinal methods. It's okay if we need to alleviate your depression with medicinal methods, because if we do not alleviate those things, that's when you progress to more serious mental illnesses, more serious stages of depression, and Lord forbid, people progress to suicidal ideations. And that's not okay. That's not okay. And we want to prevent that with early intervention and prevention. But if you or someone you know is thinking about hurting yourself, then on this screen you see, you can text 988 suicide and crisis lifeline at 988, or you can chat at 988 lifeline.org. That is a resource for you if you are feeling like you're at a stage where you want to hurt yourself. Other resources here are listed on the bottom, of this handout. I can also email this handout to Dr. Gray, and you can send this handout to all of the participants, that are gathered here today, so that they can have it as a resource guide. We have to, bottom line, that I want people to understand from this, if you don't take anything from this, is that you got to take care of yourself. You have to take care of you. It is your responsibility to take care of yourself. While we sometimes depend on others to provide happiness in our life, whether it's our spouse, our children, our friend circles, work, being appreciated at work. Sometimes we really look for those things to provide us with a happy space, and they do when they're positive. But it is at the essence and the core of everything that I know. I'm here to tell you it's your responsibility to cultivate your happiness. And you cultivate your happiness by being engaged and in tune with your body, making sure that you're doing those things that you need to do for yourself. Self-care should be top of your list. Like I said, in a 24-hour day, 20 minutes to exercise, 20 minutes out of 24 hours is a small amount of time. But we could do that daily. We owe that to ourselves daily. Again, everybody knows their exercise level, but you could engage in something. Spend 20 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day meditating with yourself, reflecting on your thoughts. If you're not a journaler, then do meditation. Reflect on your thoughts. We have to get ahead of where we are in life. The world will beat you up. You all know that. I'm sure you all have experienced that. If you haven't, as the old folks say, live on, because it's coming. The world will beat you up. And so when the world is trying to beat you up, then that's when you have to gravitate towards people and tools that will help you get through it, that will help you fight back. And that's what I'm saying to you. Know what you have in your arsenal. Know what tools are accessible to you to be able to improve your outcomes. So thank you so much for allowing me to talk with you today, to help you. Maybe we can have a part 2 to this, Dr. Gray, another time. There's so many other things I'd love to share, but I wanted to give you meat and potatoes today, so we could have some takeaways. And I certainly wanted to leave some time for questions and answers. So at this time, if you have any questions or anything I can answer, clarify for you, or any comments, please do, share at this time. So Katie, you don't have anything to say? I'm picking on Katie today.
No, just thank you for sharing. It was helpful, especially in the beginning, to hear like the differentiation you make between stress and anxiety, and what kind of moves you from one level to the other. So that's helpful information for the future.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you had something you could take away, from this.
Well, I must say personally, Dr. Joyce, that your call to action was phenomenal. Thank you so much for, and I'm personally speaking, thank you so much for explaining to us, women who are professional women, and those that are serving the communities, those that are business leaders, entrepreneurs. We get so busy in serving others and we're not serving ourselves. And I appreciate you for explaining to us the difference between stress and anxiety, and the ways that we can cope with both stress and anxiety. And I just love as a part of your call to action, your statement, it says, it is your responsibility to cultivate your happiness. I must admit, from a personal standpoint, that I have learned to cultivate my personal happiness, especially during these last 2 to 3 years, especially when the world changed at the heart of COVID and living through a pandemic and still trying to survive, not just for yourself, but holding on to businesses when you're technically shut down and, still trying to make a difference and fulfilling the purpose that God has given you in life. And with that experience, I learned how to really thrive on the self-care. And sure enough, to cultivate my own happiness, and especially when you were speaking about putting some of our loved ones that in timeout, so to speak, to make sure that we're around positive environments and have positive conversations. And I must admit, just being in your presence has always been a positive effect on me. And you have really inspired me personally as a friend, as a sister, and definitely as a professional to move forward. And I want to personally say thank you. And just to hear you to speak passionate about this topic here has really inspired me to keep on keeping on. And thank you so much for sharing all of the jewels, all of the information on today. You are phenomenal. Thank you, Dr. Joyce.
Well, thank you again. It's my pleasure to be here as a junior leaguer. I, believe in the mission, of Junior League and, what we are doing as an organization to make a difference. I think these educational and training sessions are great. I certainly am going to try to participate in more of them. So thank you guys so much.
We do have a comment in the chat. And Jacqueline Spites says, thank you so much, Dr. Joyce. The work you do is so important. I really enjoyed the session.
Certainly appreciate you, Jacqueline, and everybody for taking the time out of their day. I'm super big on each one, teach one. So hopefully you can take something that you can share with someone else. And so we can keep spreading, the knowledge, because knowledge is power, education is key. So thank you so much for, each of you taking time out of your day and your lunch schedule to join in and be and participate.
So I have one question. How do you, when you're close to an individual, a loved one, and a friend, and they have the symptoms that you were just speaking of being stressed and living with anxiety, but you're giving them, they're showing that they're being a little bit difficult of seeking help. How, as a friend, could I encourage them to seek help?
I think sometimes when you're having conversations, and that's why I really like this handout that I was sharing with you. As a matter of fact, I'll just say this. I was having a conversation with a loved one, and I was saying to them that I thought they needed to seek help about a situation. And I had said it to them before, but I actually printed that handout and I gave them the handout. And I said, I want you to look at what the national, and this is a very educated person. I said, I want you to look at what the National Institute of Mental Health says. I'm not saying this. I want you to read what research says. And they did look at the handout, and I mean, actually kind of in tears, they said to me, maybe I do. So, there's no cookie cutter approach to how you encourage your friend to seek help, because everybody's different. Everybody has a different mentality, and we all come from different spaces and places. in life. And so I think that sometimes it's good to show them, what the statistics are, what the outcomes are from the statistics. That helps. And sometimes just having that heart-to-heart conversation with them one-on-one may help. And sometimes providing the information. I've looked up a couple of therapists. Here's some names and some numbers. Why don't you call and talk to someone about your situation? Take the work out of it for them. So you have to take different approaches for, different people.
Awesome. I too, several years ago, I would say a good 8 years ago, I was in a situation, and a friend of mine, co-worker at the time, suggested for me to go to a therapist. And the therapist, she was telling me my diagnosis, and I didn't believe her. So she did exactly what you just suggested to do. And she said, read over this. And that's when I said, I'm convinced. Let's
Yes,
work and let's have a better life.
that's right.
So thank you for sharing that. Yes. I too know that it helps. Well, Dr. Joyce, how can we stay in contact with you?
Well,
Tell-
I am here at Alabama State University. I'm the health officer for the university, so I'm certainly not hard to find on this campus at all. And anytime that I can be a resource to any of you, be it personally provide you some information, or talk to other groups or organizations that you are attached to, then certainly, reach out to me. And I'm so willing to do that. I'll drop my email in the chat.
Hey,
So that way you have it. There it is.
yes. So you can reach Dr. Joyce at jdavis at AL.
I'm sorry, JL Davis.
Yes, thank you for that correction. You can reach Dr. Joyce Davis at jldavis at alasu.edu. Thank you once again. We give you a great round of applause. Thank you for sharing your passion, your knowledge, your time, your expertise with us today. And we all commit, I know I'm committing to living a better, healthy lifestyle by making sure I cultivate my happiness. God bless you all, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.